Today we go to the book of Joshua, to a story that is, in some ways, one of the most quietly revolutionary in the entire Bible. Revolutionary because of who the hero is. Because in a narrative about the conquest of Canaan, about the Israelite armies taking possession of the promised land, the figure who sees most clearly, who acts with the most moral courage, who is remembered and honored by the tradition, is that Canaanite woman who ran a house of prostitution in Jericho. Her name is Rahab, and we read her story today with Erich Fromm, who spent his career thinking about what it takes to see truth when everything in your environment is pulling you away from it, and what it takes to act on what you see. The story is in Joshua 2 and 6. Joshua sends two spies into the land, particularly to Jericho. They come to Jericho and enter the house of a woman named Rahab and lodge there. The king of Jericho hears that Israelite spies have arrived. He sends men to Rahab's house to demand that she hand them over. Rahab has hidden the spies under stalks of flax on her roof. She tells the king's men, "Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they came from. When it was time to close the city gate at dark, the men left. I don't know where they went. Go after them quickly, you may catch them." She has lied to her king to protect the enemy's spies, and then she goes up to the roof and makes a deal with them. She says, "I know that the Lord has given you this land, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us. Everyone in the country is melting in fear because of you. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea before you when you came out of Egypt, and what he did to the two kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard it, our hearts melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed because of you. For the Lord, your Lord, is God in heaven above and on the earth below. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to my family, my father and my mother, my brothers and my sisters, and all who belong to them, and that you will save us from death." What Fromm would immediately notice about this speech is its remarkable structure. Rahab is not asking for charity. She is not pleading from weakness. She is making a transaction, a precise, clear negotiation from a position of power. She has just saved the spies' lives by hiding them and misleading the king's men. She holds the information, the roof, the flags, the cover story. She is the one in control of the situation. And then she uses that position not to escape, not to gain personal wealth, but to secure her family. Her request is specific and modest. Save us, all who belong to us. Don't let us die. This is what Fromm would call productive character in action. Rahab is not acting from fear, or not only from fear. She is acting from a clear-eyed moral assessment. She has seen something that her own people cannot see or will not acknowledge, that the God of Israel is the God of heaven and earth. She has taken in the evidence, the crossing of the Red Sea, the defeat of the Amorite kings, and drawn a conclusion that the king of Jericho, who is busily trying to catch the spies, has not drawn. She has assessed the situation accurately. She has chosen the side she believes is right, or at least the side she believes is true. And she has acted on that choice at personal risk, against the interests of her own king, against the expectations of her own society. Fromm, in his writings on moral courage and civil disobedience, was fascinated by the figure of the person who acts rightly when all the social pressures point the other way. He wrote about the historical scarcity of such people, not because human beings are incapable of moral clarity, but because the social structures within which most people live are extraordinarily effective at suppressing independent moral judgment. The mechanism he identified is what he called the social filter, the tendency of every society to shape its members' perceptions so that they see what is convenient for the social order to have them see, and do not see what would threaten it. We are taught what counts as danger, who counts as an enemy, what counts as loyalty, and what counts as treason. And these categories are so deeply absorbed that most people never notice they are categories. They experience them as simply the way things are. Rahab has somehow escaped this filter. She lives in Jericho. Jericho is a walled city about to be attacked by an enemy army. The socially expected response is to protect the city, report the spies, and do what the king says. Every social pressure is pointing in one direction, and Rahab points in the other. Not out of naivety, she knows exactly what she's doing, but because she has looked at the evidence and reached a judgment that her social environment has not authorized her to reach. Fromm would say, this is what genuine moral courage requires. Not the absence of fear, not the absence of social pressure, but the capacity to look through the social filter to the reality beneath it and to act from what is seen rather than from what is expected. The deal is made. The spies tell Rahab to hang a scarlet cord from the window through which she lowers them to safety. The same window, the wall of Jericho being so thick that a house is built into it. When the Israelites attack, any household displaying the scarlet cord would be spared. And when Jericho falls, when the walls come down after the famous 7-day procession and the blast of the trumpets, Joshua sends the 2 spies to bring Rahab and her family out. She and all who belong to her are brought out and settled outside the camp of Israel. The text says she lives amongst the Israelites to this day. The Moabite Ruth was integrated into the Israelite community by the act of her choosing. The Canaanite Rahab is integrated into the Israelite community by her act of courage and by the faithfulness of those who kept the bargain she struck. There is a detail in the story that I find particularly rich. Rahab ties the scarlet cord in the window as soon as the spies have gone, immediately without waiting. She does not think about it. She does not weigh the risk of displaying a sign that, to anyone who knew about it, would mark her house as a collaborator's house. She ties it in the window that night. Fromm would read this as the action of someone whose moral decision is complete. She has made her choice. She is not hedging it, not keeping options open, not maintaining deniability. The cord is in the window. She is committed. And the cord is red, the color of blood, the blood of covenant, perhaps, the color that marks the threshold of the saved household. It echoes the blood on the doorpost at the first Passover, another marking, another sign that said to the destroying force, pass over here. The outsider has been given, or has found, the same sign as the people of the covenant. Fromm wrote that genuine moral action has a quality of irreversibility about it. You do not act morally and keep the door open to going back. You act, and the acting closes the door to the old position. The cord in the window is that irreversibility made visible. Rahab appears twice more in the biblical tradition, both times in the New Testament, once in Matthew's genealogy of Jesus, where she is listed among his ancestors, and once in Hebrews 11, the great roll call of faith, where she appears alongside Abraham, Moses, and Jacob, and all the great figures of the Hebrew tradition. By faith, the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, was not killed with those who were disobedient. She is in the lineage, she is in the canon of faith, a Canaanite woman with a house in the wall of Jericho who looked at the evidence and made a choice, and tied a red cord in a window and waited. Fromm would say, this is what it looks like when an individual refuses to be simply what their society has made them, when the social filter is seen through and the reality beneath it is acted upon at cost in full knowledge of what the cost might be. The cord is in the window. The choice is made. Pass over this house.